We'd like to welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the press. First thing I'm going to need to do is get a little room on this rostrum. If someone could shuffle some of the microphones so the statement we will read can fit up here. You know which mics belong to you. So
where do you suggest we put them?
Well, if you could reshuffle them on here so that we can get a statement on it.
Got the microphones. Might as well get up here.
Well,
That's it.
okay. So once again, we'd like to thank you for joining us today. We'll have a statement today on behalf of Minister Louis Farrakhan by one of his aides, Brother Abdul Muhammad. And we'll have questions after the statement. We'd like it to be a very orderly press conference, so if you have a question, raise your hand. You will be acknowledged, and there'll be one follow-up for each question.
Let me add my welcome and thank you for your response. The Los Angeles City Council on July 28th passed a resolution 11-0, which among other things suggested that, quote, the message of Louis Farrakhan is not a message for Los Angeles. The Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors also decided for the people of Los Angeles that the message of Minister Farrakhan should be rejected. Well, Minister Farrakhan does not accept the decisions of these bodies as reflecting the will of the black people of Los Angeles. This is not a plantation where the master decides who can and cannot come and speak to his slaves. We are a free people, and we are going to behave like a free people. Therefore, Minister Farrakhan will respond only to the voice of black Los Angeles, since these are the people to whom he's coming to speak and not to those who presume to speak for them. So at this very moment, petitions are being circulated throughout the communities of Greater Los Angeles, gathering the names of thousands of people who support Minister Farrakhan's right to deliver a message to the people of Los Angeles and who want to hear his message before they make a judgment as to its fitness for Los Angeles. The politicians have voted. Now the people will vote. Minister Farrakhan will abide by the decision of the black people of Los Angeles. If they don't want him to come, then he won't come. However, if they decide that they want him to come, then he will come, despite the denunciation of the mayor or any resolutions by the city council, the board of supervisors, or any other groups or individuals who don't really speak for the people. The legal department of the Nation of Islam is also exploring possible action against the slanderous attacks on Minister Farrakhan by the mayor, the Los Angeles City Council, and the County Board of Supervisors. Because both of these processes are time-consuming, and because all signs indicate that the results will necessitate a larger seating capacity than previously expected, the August 8th meeting to be held at the Convention Center has been postponed by the Nation of Islam. And when the voice of the black people of Los Angeles has been heard, a new date will be announced. If there are any questions, we will answer them at this time, and copies of this statement will be distributed immediately after. Abdul Muhammad.
Are you from Chicago?
From Chicago.
And your title again would be?
Aide to Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Would you be kind enough to spell that for us, please? Would you be kind enough to spell that for us, Abdul?
Abdul ALLAH MUHAMMAD.
Brother Muhammad, I don't think the issue anymore is whether it's right for the minister to come, because our city attorney has already decided that it is illegal for him to come. So why are you still dwelling on that issue of who wants him to come and who's not?
Well, because out of pride, Minister Farrakhan would not come to a city where he is not wanted. So now he is waiting for the black people of Los Angeles, to whom he's coming to speak, to let him know whether or not these people speak for them, because we don't believe they do. I know Los Angeles too well. I've been here a few days now, and I don't get the feeling that these people are speaking for black Los Angeles. So we want to hear from black Los Angeles, and when that is communicated to Mr. Farrakhan, he will be glad to come.
One more thing. How are you going to know? You're going to get petitions from the people who support the minister, but how are you going to know that there's people who don't support the minister?
We get enough who support. We don't care who doesn't support.
What's enough?
Well, we'll let him judge that. We're going to send him all we get.
You mentioned that the legal department is exploring possibility of some legal action for slanderous statements. Could you describe those? What are the slanderous statements that have been made? Potentially slanderous statements.
Well, we're going to have our legal department decide whether or not, or if indeed they were slanderous, because the legal definitions of libel, slander, etc., can get very sticky. And for instance, one of the things that they have to decide for us is, since they acted in concert as a group, can an action be taken on the group, or do we have to do it separately for each individual and so forth? So I'm not going to get into the legal portions.
Well, could you respond to them to the specific charges or allegations were made by both the City Council and the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, who are basically saying that the Nation of Islam is divisive, that Mr. Farrakhan's statements are divisive, racist, bigoted? Could you respond to those?
Well, I think that the division, or the attempt at division, does not come from the Nation of Islam. I don't think that the 19,000 people who gathered at the forum left there divided. I think they left there more of an accord than they were when they came there. They came there quite disparate, and I think they all left there with more in common. And everywhere that he has been, everywhere that he works, and everywhere that he speaks, we don't find any divisiveness. Dividing what from what?
Are you concerned that postponement of the meeting will be interpreted by some as backing away because of the criticism?
We're not concerned that anyone will think that we're backing away. I think that the fact that we are not totally abandoning it, and that if the black people of Los Angeles say so, we'll answer all criticism by his presence.
Was this one of the statements you considered potentially slanderous? City Attorney James Kahn in a press release said, "I regard Farrakhan and what he stands for to be abhorrent and an insult to all civilized people."
If you call an individual, now had he just dealt with the statements, that's one thing. When you call an individual abhorrent, then I think that that's potentially slanderous. But again, we're going to let our legal department decide that.
How will you come back to
We have petitions. We have typed and printed petitions. And we have them already in the hands of people. Other people are taking them out. We're merely going among the people of the community, getting their signatures.
Specifically, who and how many and where will those signatures be collected?
They will be collected in the streets, at doors, any place that we find people. It will be done by Muslims, by non-Muslims. There are even a couple of ministers, Christian ministers, who have already volunteered to get some of their flock. To anyone who wants to help us to get those signatures as fast as possible and get the message into Minister Farrakhan, we're welcoming their help.
Do you have any idea of what a representative sample will be?
No, but I know there will be more than 11. No, as soon as we can get the reading, the soonest possible date that he can get in here, we'll be in here with it. No, sir. So we're getting them just as fast as we can.
Do you think surrounding the difficulty in actually getting a convention center or getting a placement, given the fact that people may want Farrakhan to come, that there may be difficulty in securing an arena to conduct his sermon or preaching?
Well, we don't discount the possibility of difficulty, but we have faith in the people. We just honestly have faith in God and in the people of God. And we feel that if Minister Farrakhan wants to come here, and if the black people of Los Angeles want him here, then I don't believe any power can keep him out here.
Aren't you really just testing the crowd strength at the convention center to avoid an embarrassment? Farrakhan may be showing up, and a lot of people haven't heard the statement of the city council refusing to come here.
That would be taken for granted that the people listen to the city council. No, sir.
Is there no message of the nation Islam?
Well, this is not the time. We don't have the time, nor is this the place to go into the total message. But in short, it is it's freedom, justice, and equality. The upliftment of black people, and that is not racist in that black people are at the lowest rung of the social ladder. And the history of Islam as a religion is that whenever it goes into a nation or a community, it always goes to those at the lowest. That's the nature of the religion. This is why when Islam first went into India, it went immediately to the untouchables. There were no members of the higher caste who were Muslims, although later on they became. But it started with the lower caste, with the untouchables. That, in general, is message. Yeah.
In about a half hour, the members of a black national group will be signing an agreement or signing its support with supporters of the PACE Amendment. How does this group stand with regard to that amendment, that proposal?
To be perfectly frank, I'm not even familiar with it. If you care to fill me in, I may have a reaction.
This has to do with members of any ethnic group in the United States being denied citizenship in this country. That would mean anybody who was not of European, Northwestern European descent.
All right, where we stand on that is that we think that that is totally in accord with the whole history and governmental structure of America. Naturally, we don't approve of it, but we're not in the least surprised. And those who are surprised have not watched the trend in the latter years, that whereas there has been an attempt previously to hide this inclination, that now the mood of the country is to be more open in the espousal of white supremacy.
Can you give us your reaction to Mayor Bradley's statement about the speech of Mr. Farr, the upcoming visit of Mr. Farrakhan? He said that he is anti-Semitic, anti-Korean, and that his message is not welcome. He did not refer to the person of Mr. Farrakhan, but his message. What's your reaction to Mayor Bradley's position?
Well, if you read the opinion of the city attorney and you read some of the precedents that he has cited, in the statements of the court, the opinions of the courts, you are never right to try and preclude anybody from doing anything, saying anything that you haven't heard. Mayor Bradley, as a lawyer and with an excellent record as a lawyer, really demeans himself by violating the Constitution in that manner, to try and preclude something that you have not heard, when the court has repeatedly, from the U.S. Supreme Court on down to the district courts, they have repeatedly held that you have no right to stop something from being said that you have not heard.
I assume you've had recent conversations with Mr. Farrakhan. What have you said about all these situations in a one-to-one conversation you've had?
On the one-to-one conversations that we have had, he has agreed wholeheartedly with what we're doing and saying right at this minute that he in no way would want to go anywhere where he is not welcome. However, if his people welcome him, then he doesn't care what anybody else says, because he's not coming to talk to them anyway. Those are his exact words.
You attracted 19,000 at the forum. Why wouldn't that be referendum enough that there's already enough
Well, that was done before these statements, and we want the response of the people. Now, they may be sitting home saying, oh, they're wrong, we want Farrakhan. No, we want active support. We want them to come out as Mayor Bradley, as the council, as the supervisors came out, took some action. They took physical action to say, we don't want him. But we want our people to take physical action and say, we do want him. Yes, sir.
Well, you use the words freedom, justice, equality to describe the Nation of Islam. How does that square with phrases like calling Judaism a gutter religion?
It doesn't, because nobody in the Nation of Islam ever called Judaism a gutter religion.
Deny that Mr. Farrakhan has ever used those words?
Not only denied, but every member of the press who was at the press conference he held at Muhammad Mosque number 27, if they are here, they received a copy from my hands of the tape that's in question and can prove that he never said that.
So in your mind, that he's never used anything that would be considered anti-Semitic. He is not anti-Semitic.
Oh, he's definitely not anti-Semitic. That's ridiculous. Colonel Gaddafi is a Semite, and you all made a great deal of the fact that he loaned us $5 million.
Flatline the message of the group a little while ago. Is it the council and the board of supervisors don't understand that message, or they don't want it?
Well, I don't think they've heard it. This is the thing that makes them irresponsible. If they were to take the message apart, piece by piece, and truthfully, take parts of it and say, look, let me play this. Now, don't you see that this man is saying such, such, such? No, they quote and misquote, as this gentleman just did, as Ted Koppel did. You know, he said thus and so. He said it's a gutter religion. You can't find the word gutter coming out of his mouth on this whole speech that this young lady from the Washington Post and Newsweek got and took back. Nowhere does it say gutter. Nowhere is the word Judaism ever used. on the tape. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Mr.
But
Muhammad,
they haven't heard. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Muhammad, the other day at the City Council, a number of representatives appeared before the council before that resolution was adopted. And one of the speakers, I have it in my notes here, said, among other things, that Jewish terrorist organizations in Los Angeles had persuaded Mayor Bradley to tamper with your August 8th meeting. Now, that's a quote. We have it on tape. Now, what was the import of a statement like that?
Well, I agree with it wholeheartedly because it's absolutely correct. You see, my position on that, the minute I heard it, was that Mayor Bradley didn't even check with the responsible Jewish community before he came out with his statements. He took a fringe group, a terrorist group, a proven terrorist group, the Jewish Defense League. He was at a press conference for a humanitarian reason. He's dealing with death in his city, the Salvadoran problem. He holds a press conference for this, to do something and say something to assuage the aggrieved families of these victims. And in the midst of this, here comes a lunatic fringe terrorist leader, I say it publicly, and makes him, understand this, the top executive of the second largest city in America. He forces him to abandon a humanitarian undertaking and attack another black man. I think that's totally irresponsible, and that's exactly what happened.
Would you call the Anti-Defamation League, let me take fringe terrorist organization?
They're not on the fringe. They're in the center, but they're still a terrorist organization.
I'd just like to say something, and I don't want to be a part of this story at all, but I was at that news conference, and the mayor insisted that he would not make any comment on that until the entire news conference was over, and that's exactly what happened. Everybody was finished with that news conference, and the press insisted that he make a response to Mr. Rubin, and that's when he made the statement.
Oh, well, then we can't completely blame Mr. Bradley. It seems that if the press insisted, then the press also was intimidated by this terrorist group. Yes, Ms. Abdul.
Before the local NAACP presidents had nothing to say about the minister. Is the minister a member of the NAACP?
Minister Farrakhan holds a lifetime membership to the NAACP. Yes.
Do you feel that there is an attempt by the media to misrepresent Mr. Farrakhan? And if so, why?
Well, when you have a vested interest in a corrupt... the answer is yes, of course. And I think, all you have to do is go through any files of any newspaper, any major newspapers, any videos in any of the networks and even the local stations, and you'll find that that is true. When you have a vested interest in a corrupt system, and someone comes who is a threat to that system, then you have to fight any way you want to. Now, the statements of Minister Farrakhan, the speeches of Minister Farrakhan, are the smokescreen and not the issue. You see, when Minister Farrakhan first started a couple of years ago talking about power and going on his tour speaking of power, he was dealing with a concept. Today, he has it as a reality. He comes with the products, he comes with the organization, the structure in place to make these products available to our people to sell, to create employment for themselves, and also to take away some of the $200 billion that black people are spending that do not come into the black community. Well, naturally, if somebody is sucking $200 billion out of your pocket, and somebody comes and attempts to button up the pocket, you're going to be mad at the person with the button.
Could you finish responding to that question before? I think the question I was asking you is Minister Farrakhan is anti-Jewish. He said Semitic, and you mentioned Gaddafi, who was a Semite too, racially. But is the minister anti-Jewish? I think that was the thrust of the question.
No, Minister Farrakhan is not anti-Jewish. Minister Farrakhan takes the same position that many Jews take. And in fact, one of the most hated groups in Israel, are the Lubavitchers. They're the most hated group there because they are an ultra-Orthodox group who believe the Torah and who believe that the Messiah will come and establish the Jewish homeland. They do not accept the political banditry of driving the Palestinians from their homes and founding an outlaw nation. There are many Jews who agree totally with Minister Farrakhan, and being a spiritual man, being a religious man, he stands on the same scriptures that they stand on.
And we'd like to thank you very much for coming out to the press conference today. And again, the statement will be available at the right-hand side of the platform. Thank you very much.
We're not speculating, but we're going to have a, there's no doubt, we won't be where we had planned to be, Petrie Hall, that's out. Well, let's put it this way. The new golden rule is whoever supplies the gold makes the rules. And I've got a book that I got from a bookstore in Washington, D.C., where it lists not only the black ones, but it lists the whole United States Senate and all of Congress, and it lists the Jewish contribution to their campaign. One of the things that Evans and Novak just recently did was pointed out why Senator Inouye is not emphasizing the fact that North has identified one of their people as being an Israeli agent, and Inouye keeps referring to the fact that he's an Iranian. And they point out in there that in the last election, they checked and found that $48,000 plus that went into Inouye's campaign fund came from specific Jewish groups. So he is going to slide Israel's connection with the Iran-Contra thing under the rug. So the same thing happens even more with black politicians. This is why Minister Farrakhan is so dangerous, because if he gets black people to establish their own economic base, they can afford then to contribute to the campaign coffers of their own politicians, and then they will have to dance to our tune. But as it stands now, they can be so well-intentioned, they can love black people ever so well, but they know they have to run for re-election, and they know we are not going to supply the money for them. It's that simple.
There were certain members of the press that we had talked to before, and they would come over to the right-hand side of the stage. We'll do a few more interviews, and then that's it. General press conference.
Just one question. Would you be willing to hire another private arena, or are you still looking for a publicly owned, a city-owned arena? Would it make any difference to you?
No, if you have something in mind, you can see one of our representatives.
No, but I mean, you're not backing away from going back to the city and saying we want to hire a sports arena? Or...
In fact, we would rather that it be public, because these are citizens of this city who are saying we want Farrakhan. Then we want to challenge the city. Are you going to deny your own citizens?
That's really the basis of what the postponement is about, is to thrust it back in the political arena of Los Angeles.
Right. Make these so-called representatives of the people deal with their people. Deal with their people. They're not denying us, really. They're denying the people.
Has any other mayor
Repudiated? Oh, at a given time, yes. But in fact, thanks to Mayor Koch's repudiation, we filled up Madison Square Garden and the Felt Forum.
Thank you very much,
Is there
sir.
any reason to talk about getting like press credentials or anything from whenever this convention?
You have my number on the bottom. Just keep going. Chicago.
My name, my camera phone, all that. We'll hand out.
Do I look familiar?
We will have something.
Okay, great.
No fully religious Jews except this political side. None.
Doing their job and deal with Iran Contra. They've really done a good job on that.
So what did I miss? I came in late.
Just what's the statement that they're calling off.
It's a lot more calm than I thought it would be. I see a whole lot of shouting.
The Nazi Party wants
So you're gonna be in
to
this
have
one?
it an atmosphere
Close it in. Just close it in real tight. Come on.
free of
Close it
any
in.
alien interference. We have to respect that. And we would like to do the same thing. It's not that we don't want white people around us. We don't want them controlling us. We don't want them interfering with us. So we share that with the Nazis and all of the Aryan nations.
I tell you what, man.
All of these.
I got
some
one.
things
Let's
we
get
don't
the
agree
other
with.
one and
We
we
have
start
something
talking
they
over
don't
here.
agree with. That's neither here nor there. But we're intelligent enough to say that, look, but You are working to benefit your people. We're working to benefit our people. You've got to really respect others.
Okay, is there any other sort of mutual support though to
No,
each other's neighbors?
no,
What about
none whatsoever.
the general Islamic community outside of the Nation of Islam? Do you have relation? Are you the same organization? Are you related religiously to Islam worldwide?
Yes. In fact, many of our people are always somewhere in the dominant Muslim world right now. I mean, there's not a day that passes that some of our people are not visiting some of the other countries. And some Muslims, I just met a Saudi prince, came to our mosque in Chicago just before I left. So we have a very good working relationship and an interfacing, and we have some plans which will come to fruition very soon. All right. We through getting snapped? Okay, I promise.
Are there any more of the statements available, or is?
Yes. There's the brother with the statements right there. Fast Eddie.
Okay. So you can elaborate on these plans that you have for...
No. We don't want to be premature, but we do have some definite plans. I mean, formalized, drawn up, everything. People in place, money in place, everything. I mean, we're going to do some great things to propagate Islam.
I want to mention that I enjoyed very much Minister Farrakhan's talk when he just came back from the Hajj.
Oh, yeah.
Very beautiful speech. I enjoyed it very much.
Very good.
I saw that on video.
All right. Brother Rasu.